record. Mindset is a really important topic to me right now, and maybe that resonates with a lot of advisors. Maybe that doesn't resonate with a lot of advisors, but like mindset has been a huge piece of my life for maybe the last year and a half. And so, Kim, I'm really excited about our conversation and tap into your expertise and knowledge on the topic. So, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm here for it.
Yeah, very cool. So I'll tell you, Kim, we were talking about this a little bit, but I'll tell our guests too, the microwave behind me and stuff. I'm at like this, yeah, we got the same colors going on. I am at a little casita in Cocoa Beach, Florida right now, about 80 miles from home. It is my youngest daughter, Eden's 15th birthday. And so we rented a couple hotel rooms. The beach is about 200 feet in that direction. Ron John Surf Shop is right over here. So it's not my normal background, but anyway, Kim. So on location, that's the beauty of work today, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of get formal here, Kim? Why don't we jump in, huh?
Okay. Okay.
All
Let's go.
right. Awesome. Cool. So, for those of you who are joining us today, again, thank you for taking time out of your day. I am super excited to make a formal introduction to my friend Kim Skermer. Kim, national Canadian athlete. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Kim's got quite a bit of history in our industry as well with Transamerica Canada, Manulife, right? And then we met Kim, got to be 2 years now, right?
Yeah, it has.
Got to be a
Yep.
couple of years when you were transitioning into coaching. And we're going to, of course, talk about your approach coaching method today. Um, Kim, you were the perfect guest for this. And like I say, mindset is largely an important thing to me right now. And I hope it resonates with the advisors, and the room continues to fill up. So I see that it is important for the advisors in both of our networks as well. I want to start today, and I'm going to let you talk in a second, Kim. I want to start today actually with your LinkedIn post this morning,
Mm.
promoting, of course, our event, but also really important. This was really cool. So you interviewed a couple hundred advisors,
I did.
and those advisors all said, "I need help with my business."
Yeah.
And I'm going to shut up for a second. I'm not very good at that, but I'm going to shut up for a second, and I want you to elaborate upon what they meant by "I need help with my business." Why don't you talk
Mhm.
about what you posted about this morning?
It was even that post, and when you watch experts act, you get so much information and you get a lot of learnings about mindset. It's not of how successful someone is, it's how they act and what they do. So when I started my own independent coaching practice, I was senior executive, right? And I had a really big gut feeling of what was missing, what people were looking for, all of those things. But that whole part of when advisors say, I need help with my business, we are so focused on the product itself. We are so focused on the investments. We're so focused on the index, on the S&P, on the stock market, on the life insurance, on the sale, on all these stats of 1 in 3 people are going to get cancer and all of these things. As service providers, the ones that hug the advisors and the wholesalers that are out there trying to help the advisors and bringing value to them, they think it's about more sales language. They think I need help with my business is about more of the objection handling. It's about all of these things. And when you stop and you ask those questions more of, I need help with more of my business, and go, tell me more. What is it that you need help with? And automatically, just by asking that question, they go down to this part of, man, I'm tired. My husband doesn't understand what I do. My wife doesn't understand what I do. My kids don't know why I have to go to conferences all the time. I have to go to 7 different learning and development days. I've got compliance on me. I've got this. I've got that. I just had a charge back. I've now got something stuck in underwriting. I'm trying to get this plan done. The clients won't give me their tax slips. That's what you need help with. So, how do you manage all of these things right to that point of you don't need objection handling scripts? What you need is to understand who you are as a human, right? It all goes back and trails back to mindset. It all does.
Yeah. I think our industry has changed so much in the last, I mean, it's changed obviously since, for forever, but in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been this light speed of change.
Yeah.
Largely because all the information that a salesperson used to provide in any industry was really dependent on the salesperson to provide it. Now we all have every bit of information at our fingertips, right? And so
Well done.
truly someone becomes an advisor as opposed to a sales role, even though a lot of, the big firms are still tackling it like it's a sales role. One of the things that I shouldn't say struggle with, but one of the things that we are consistently doing with the advisors that we work with is shifting that mindset from sales to service. Right. And again, to your point, you don't need a perfect script. In fact, you need to be leading with your heart and your mind, and not the perfect words to convert somebody from connection to prospect to client.
You
Right.
can sniff it out. You can sniff it out in 2.35 seconds.
That doesn't take long. Yeah.
Doesn't take long. It honestly doesn't, right?
So today, just to kind of recap, what the description of the webinar is, Kim, just so we kind of stay on task. And I've got questions in every area, and we'll get participation from the audience a little bit too. And I see Derek left us a message. We'll check on that in a second. First and foremost, you developed with your experience, and wow, you mentioned the other day 30,000 hours of coaching advisors.
No, it's 27,000. It's 27. It sounds like a fish story. My fish was this big, and it was like a minnow. So it keeps every time. It's 27,000. Well, 27,913 actually, to be exact.
Wow, the fact that you're tracking that's amazing too. So all of that experience leading to the approach coaching method. We want to talk about what that is and how it relates to growth mindset. We're going to talk about developing positive habits to align with personal and professional goals. This is an important one. Number 3, recognize and alter existing patterns, which may be holding us back from reaching those professional goals. And then implementing routines. And you speak specifically about the midweek routine. I woke up this morning telling Carmen, now it's only Tuesday, but I suppose that's midweek, telling my wife, Carmen, like, is it Groundhog's Day? Like, it just felt like the same thing, And I work out of my house, of course, from a different location now, but work out of my house, wake up, put on the same hoodie in the morning, take the dog out, do the, right? So you do reach this point midweek where you're like, oh God, So that's what we're going to hit on today. Kim, let's start with the approach coaching method, and how all those hours of coaching advisors and your time with Transamerica and your time with Manulife and, of course, your time as a national athlete for Canada. Let's talk about how that boils down into approach coaching method.
I'll start it off with an incredible saying that was said to me by my last Team Canada coach. So I moved from out west to out east to Toronto, and found the group and found the Team Canada coach. And he was the most beautiful paddler I've ever seen in my life. Like, this guy danced on the water. It was gorgeous and strong. And he's still paddling today. Like, he's 67 and he's still kicking butt. And so I went up to him and I said, Larry, I'm your new paddler. I moved from out west, from comms crew. Where do we go? What do we do? And he goes, well, what can I do for you? And I said, okay, to be honest, I want to look like you. I want to paddle like you. I want to be you. I want, so show me how to be you. And I said, and he said to me, he goes, Kim, I need to ask you this question. If I was to make you a mirror image of me, am I going to help you or am I going to harm you? And I was like, boom. Like, that was such an integral point in my paddling career and also in my business career. So at that time, I was still, senior executive in corporate. And it is this part of, when we look around, we are all asking to, or wanting to, or feel that we need to bend and conform. Charlie's extremely successful. I need to do it just like Charlie has. Charlie goes after XYZ clients. It must be profitable. So I'm going to go act, walk, and talk like Charlie. Yeah. And that's wrong. I'm not Charlie. Yeah. Right? So it is that whole part of, where did the approach come from, is that we all as human beings are going through different things. The root of what we're going through or what we need in business and as human beings, that all exists. That journey, it's there. It's cemented. It's the way of life and it's the way of business. How and when we get to intersect into that path or where we start on that path. That's the difference. And that's why we deserve, as human beings, a different own approach. And that's where the approach coaching method came from. We all deserve a different approach. You look at my logo, there's a swirl in the middle, which signifies the storm that is all whirling around our head. And there's two faces facing outward. Most of those logos, they face inward and look at each other. Our mind, we have all these things that are going around in our mind, in our brain. Every human being does. But you are going to have your own path and perceptions. That's important to recognize.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's in everything, paddling. I used to study art. I used to do art a little bit when I was younger, a little bit of painting.
Yeah.
I know that, in training to be a fine artist, right? You emulate, but not without your own, duplicate this fine artwork to learn technique, but not without your own input. And what you say is so true, right? Even and we've had some success over the years, but even so, I look at what other people are doing and I say, oh, I need to be doing that. No, I don't. So it's kind of a shiny object syndrome for me a little bit, Kim, because it still happens.
Yeah.
It still happens, right?
It'll forever happen.
Well, I need to do it like they're doing it.
Yeah. It'll forever happen. The one thing that we need to focus on and what I coach is, we'll always have that shiny object syndrome. We always want to be better if someone's doing something, because my greatest fear is to become obsolete, to no longer be relevant, Charlie. I'm terrified of that. I'm terrified of it. And so it's that whole part of, we will always feel these emotions. We're human beings. It's all the cogs, the parts and pieces in the wheel that move us forward. It's understanding of, how do I lessen that gap? When I have failure, when I have shiny object syndrome, it's actually I need to lessen that time between me falling off track and getting back on track. That's what you work on, is the gap.
I like that. I've heard you comment on emotional intelligence in the past.
Yeah.
Talk about how emotional, everybody, focused on IQ and your intelligence, but how does your emotional intelligence impact the coaching methodology and really being the best you can be?
Well, there's 4 pillars with emotional intelligence, and that's kind of that part. It's a part that it is my struggle that irks me a little bit, and is my tension that I lean into a lot, because if I'm feeling tension on something, I know that I have to bring forward and understand it better. So my tension is, I call them gurus. So there's experts and there's gurus. And gurus prey on the emotion that you are wished or desired to feel, in my mind. The experts help you uncover that emotion and understand where you're going through and help show you the path. So when we look at emotional intelligence, it's about self-awareness, it's about self-management, right? It's about social awareness and relationship management. It's the last one. So when we're talking about emotional intelligence, like our self-awareness, that's your emotional stressors, right? That is self-care versus aftercare. You have to realize there's a difference. Self-management, it's your adaptability. It's those pieces of having this positive outlook. And on the parts that I'm trying to, self-awareness, is that about having empathy, not sympathy. Empathy. If you have sympathy, you go down a really, really bad path, and it's usually a victim path. But if you have empathy, you understand someone's emotion. And then the relationship management, right? That's influence, that's, conflict management, all these pieces. So when you understand in business and in life on how to manage your emotional intelligence, these are all the pillars that help you move forward to take action in the area so you can go be who this world needs you to be. Right?
Yeah, awesome. Comes back to sales and service. Kim, did I hear you, guru kind of has a negative connotation for you, huh?
So I'm working on a book. And I love playing with words. And Derek's on here too. Derek and I were chatting when I was driving on my way home. We were laughing about acronyms and what things mean. And as you get to know me, FYI means something different. The NFL means something different. Yeah. Anyways, it's this whole fun part of the book I'm working on is The False Prophet, Where Success Lies.
Okay.
And profit is spelt as in profit, as in money, and lies as in lying, not telling the truth. Because we're in this time again of, with a camera, well, with your phone,
Yeah.
and a really good background and a couple of editing, you can look like a pretty cool expert.
That's right.
And this again is my tension point of where I have to really, really become strict and disciplined with my mindset. Because Charlie, I've almost called out the gurus so many times. And it's not because I don't like them or they're mean or they're big fat duty heads to me. It's the harm that they do and the unawareness to other people. That gets me. That really gets me. And so it's that part of, okay, who do I go after? What makes sense and where do you have the conversation? And the only thing I can control is myself and how I act. So getting louder, building this community with yourself, with Matt, with Derek, with Sean, with all of these individuals of there is a way to take Derek's quote, good people doing good business. There's a way. So you can go settle for the gurus because the ones that are going to be attracted to the gurus are not my client.
Right.
They're not going to work with me and get a plan together and mindset and then go work with social advisor and increase their LinkedIn presence. They're not going to go work with Derek and get good copy content. They're not going to go podcast with Matt. Those are not my clients because they're not ready for coaching yet. They're not in the right mindset. It'll be a failure. So it's really interesting of, sometimes you have to have some playful little nickname words to make you feel better about things. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is the world of easy access to media that we have right now, right? I mean, it is it's easy to pull a cloak maybe.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess I agree with that. I don't think guru is a negative term necessarily, but
Yeah.
if you've got to make a separation, it might as well be
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Kim, what do you believe? And we've got before I jump into this question, I want everybody here, and we got a good turnout. So I was a little worried, Kim, that mindset might not be something that resonated with advisors, right? We talked about, and actually our registrations were a little bit low. But what has happened is the people who have registered, a huge percentage of those people are here right now. So thank you all again for taking
Oh,
time out of
thank
your
you
day.
guys.
So maybe where we get a lot of registrations, if we're talking about email marketing or something like that, and 25 or 30% of people show up, we're up over 50% just about now. So the percentage is so there's a
I'm proud
significant.
of you all. I'm proud of you all. It's about getting curious about it first, right? You have to.
That's cool. So if you have questions, by all means, drop it in the chat, drop it in the Q&A, and between my conversation with Kim, we'll drop your questions into the conversation, but also I might answer, directly in typing as well. But have you boiled it down, Kim, to like the single most impactful strategy for advisors who are looking to elevate their business? Do you have any one or two nuggets that we can throw out there right away? And then we're going to get into specifically into the mindset and approach coaching method.
If I was to boil it down to one thing, it's that part of having and learning and understanding what it takes to scale in business. So when we hear the word scale in business, and even so you're an advisor and you're frustrated with your distributor or your carrier or whatever it may be, and they're making decisions you don't agree with. And it's the decision they've usually made that you don't agree with is removing something that you wanted. But to scale in business means to remove limitations. Things that are not scalable are limitations in business. Does it make sense? And is this the right thing to do? That's always debatable depending on your perspective on the situation. Right? So when we are looking at the one thing that really truly, if I was not to coach or dive deep into that whole persona, what the advisor is going through, it's learn how to scale. And to say that we have it backwards or we say it the wrong way when we talk about purpose, passion, and profit. So just when I just called the false prophet, I'm now going to lead with profit. And there's a reason why I lead with profit. When you are going into business, right? When you are an advisor and you're going into business, you need to make that decision with profit first. And I don't mean go be a jerk and steal from people. I mean, be a mature adult and a human being who has responsibilities and accountabilities. So when you understand responsibilities and accountabilities and leading with profit, we're adults. We are good at a whole bunch of things. We have a whole bunch of interests, right? there's a lot of things we can do. So when we lead by our passions, that's kind of that guru word. So the one that I don't like, right? And that's why I kind of nickname it's that part of, okay, yes, but Kevin loves knitting scarves. So, oh, you're passionate about Kevin, you should go to the market and sell a whole bunch of scarves and do all this kind of stuff. And then within 6 months, Kevin hates his scarves and something he used to be passionate about, he can't stand doing it anymore. So if he had that conversation, the thought of going, holy crap, I have to make 2,584 scarves to be profitable. You totally lost your passion and now you have no purpose. So when looking at this advice of to be scalable, removing limitations, look at your business as what is profitable. Then how do I back that up with purpose? What is my purpose? What is the purpose towards these efforts and who am I helping? And then back it up with your passion.
I like that. Here's a real life example. When I lived in Canada, in North Vancouver, I had a buddy who was a woodworker, had a woodworking business,
Mm-hmm.
and would look like he was doing great, creating furniture and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
He hated it,
Yeah.
absolutely hated it. It maybe took 6 months before he closed that business down.
Yeah.
Lost his passion, lost
Yep.
his hobby,
Yep.
actually was working at the pet store. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's where he went with it was, couldn't do woodworking anymore. Went and took a job at the pet store.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. He's no snowboard buddy of mine. Maybe he needed greater education or something like that to get out of the pet store. But uh,
Yeah.
Kim, how does approach coaching specifically help in cultivating a growth mindset?
Mm. Growth mindset comes from habits, right? So we hear growth, we hear discipline, and like, what does that mean again, right? What does that mean, and what does that word mean to the human being? And so it is that whole part of cultivating a growth mindset is being around a very, very supportive circle. Because if the people around you don't emulate the best out of you, right? You don't bring an idea to a room and you walk out with a better idea. If that's not happening, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage, right? So growth mindset is a place of when you are looking around and you see those people, when people actually realize you're there, where you address and put that whole understanding of validation. Because again, there's another dangerous word. Validation could be dangerous, and also it's a wonderful thing. So who and where do you seek validation from? Because sometimes I seek validations from people who don't see me or understand me. And I see it with a lot of my clients, right? So why would I attach and seek their validation when they don't even know I am there? Right? So it is that whole part of finding that group that just makes you feel like a better person. And everyone in that room asks that question of, how can I do this better? So that growth mindset comes from understanding where your habits come from, right? Understanding. Sorry, I just saw the message pop up. I'm giggling.
I respond to Derek here too.
I love, see, he's in our circle. He makes us laugh. Anyways, so growth mindset really is just about understanding that the end of one goal is the beginning of the next, and taking things bite by bite and piece by piece. So it's so important. Sorry, I'm trying, and laughter.
I know.
Laughter
Listen,
is incredibly important.
I know. Listen, we're digressing a little bit, but
Yeah.
I shaved the mustache one day on a full moon. My wife will
Yeah.
tell you, like, don't you shaved it on a full moon? Don't do that. Those are
Don't do
drastic,
that.
right? I did, and I only shaved the one time. I let it come back.
Yeah.
So I think we're 6 or 7 weeks in now, dude. Anyway, yes, funny comment. So goal alignment, right? We're all taught to set and honestly, and I kind of hate this a little bit, Kim. We're all taught to set revenue goals, whether it's coaching or service providing or advisory services, whatever it is. Are the first thing when someone says, "What's your goal for the year?" Obviously,
Yeah.
you're thinking about numbers,
Mhm.
right? They've got to be there, right? You have to have a benchmark to be striving towards in that regard. Um, but I think it's like third or fourth most important in someone's business,
Yep.
whereas the industry wants it to be first most important. And I think a lot of that's because, many people come out of a large firm where ultimately the corporation is serving a shareholder first, and what's the what are we making for the shareholders? And so I understand how that aligns with the goals of the corporation.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about, I'd like to get your input on aligning personal and professional goals with that growth mindset, right? So where do you start when you're talking about goal setting with advisors?
I've gotten myself into a lot of wonderful conversations about goal setting. It's very interesting. Goals are important. You need to have it, right? It's a destination, 100%. So we do need income goals. It is more of, okay, what is your budgetary goals? I would rather go through a budgetary, what it costs to live, put bread and butter on your table, right? What are your budgetary means? Not striving, because that's a real number, Charlie. That's a
Yeah,
real number. It's not a whole, I need to make $150,000. Your budget of what it costs to live, that's a real number that you can attach emotion to, right?
yeah,
And the right emotion to. That other part of the part of, what are your income goals? Everyone has income goals. It's in the back of your head, right? So when I look at goals and what the goals that are important, it is that whole part of your 5-year goal. What is it out there? And what is your 1-year goal? And 5-year goals, I just do that plan every 5 years. Like that's what it is, right? Because it is that part of, I don't want to keep focusing too far in the future because life changes. Did I know my mother was going to die of pancreatic cancer? I was going to leave my fiance, have a double hip replacement, and move to Toronto, right? It
well,
all happened in one race. Like, nope, did not know, right?
yeah.
Right. So it's that part of, let's set ourselves up for success in the best way. So to understand a goal, that is the end goal. That's the target. That's the outcome, right? Outcome we can have no control over. What you have control over are the actions and the activities that you take within that year that are non negotiables to help you drive towards that desired goal. So your goal is rigid. This is what it is, but the path and the things that you put forward, you have to really look at them of, if I just do these 3 things within building my ideal client, within my service and products, within my systems and processes, within ensuring that I have financial growth. If I do these things no more than 3 within those 5 pillars, the probability is extremely strong and high that you are going to hit your achieved goal. And also the probability and the mindset is of, this is the goal I have. And you answer it when you're putting your goals together of, so that. So for example, I am going to attend 5 webinars and co-host with Charlie 5 webinars so that I can help get the message out there of the importance of mindset, understanding coaches and whatever. So when you are doing the, so that, it's psychological. And you answer and you goal plan in a way of, your mind and your subconscious is going to say and call your bullshit out. So if I say I have gotten the voice of mindset, blah, 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 out, and I'm reading that in my every 90 days, my subconscious is going to say, no, you haven't, you big fat liar. You've only done one.
Yeah.
So how do you change it? Right? So goals are hard. The path towards it, there are non-negotiables, but you need to understand that it's the end of one goal hits to the next. And then sometimes the journey changes, the path never does. Journey is winding, path is directional.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And we were going to get into we'll get into some questions about journey and path.
Yeah.
Uh, you make an important point. The end of one goal, the accomplishment of one goal is the beginning of another. I find that a lot of people reach a goal, or if they're creative people, they create the masterpiece and then they go, well, what now?
Right.
Right. So if you don't have that journey, and you can tell me if it's journey or path, but if you don't know what that path is, and all you know is what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to be sorely disappointed, right? When you reach that goal, and so you hit your revenue goal. So, you cover your basic needs, your budgetary goals, right?
Yeah.
You hit your revenue goal. Maybe you've got a service goal. It's the number of people whose lives you're impacting, which I
Mhm.
really like. We talk a lot about
I
service goals.
love that. That's an amazing goal to track.
Isn't that why we're in this? I mean, sure, people got into the financial industry because you can make a good living, and that's attractive and that's awesome. And
Mhm.
don't begrudge anybody for that. but isn't it really about the impact we've got on other people? Because you can't take the money with you. Big deal if you drive a fast, cool
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
If you're, if you're not impacting a community. So I love that point you make about that goal is actually the beginning of the next, path uh, so Kim, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the path.
The path.
I'll let you elaborate on that. I kind of cut you off at the end there. Journey for
No,
success.
no, it's okay. I love this. This is great. Um, my first podcast interview was with a friend of ours named Matt Halloran. And Matt asked me to kind of give my elevator pitch. Who are you? Who's your ideal client? And who do you want to coach? And it has stuck with me forever. And I was always so afraid to say it out loud. And Matt made me feel comfortable enough to say it out loud. And my ideal client is the individual who has gone on their journey and they're standing at the gate of their path. I'm the coach there waiting there for them. And that's a really big thing to say because again, there's this conflict about when does someone hire a coach? When does someone hire a trainer? When do you need a mentor? When do you need this? To understand that at a certain point in places in time within your business and within your life, you are going to need different experts in different years and positioning. Sometimes you need to talk. Sometimes you need to shut up and listen. Sometimes you need to get kicked in the ass with a frozen boot and then get a hug. Like you all need these different things in different times and places in your life, right? So in the beginning, I piss off the coaching industry a lot because I believe strongly that you should not invest into a high paid coach into the beginning your first couple of years. And the reason being is because a business life and a person's life go through developmental phases exactly the same. One's quicker than the other, but exactly the same. So when we look at the developmental phases in the human life, it's called an archetype with Carl Jung has put it through with psychology. And this arc that they utilize in the personal development life is a poet. And so when you think about the poets, it's very fluid, it's design, it's imagination, it's wonderment, right? It are all these things, these creative things that you see deeper. And I'm going to be really interested in what Derek has to say to my comment here, right? So that this poet is this extremely creative person that sees design, right? And that same thing is happening in your first year in your business. You have wonderment, imagination, you have things that you were dealing with, grief, you're, hold my beer, you may be manic, but whatever, there's this really big creative element because you want to make your imprint in life. So just as when you are dealing with a 6-year-old and you tell your 6-year-old, no, you can't have candy at 9 o'clock at night, you're going to go to bed. Your 6-year-old's going to climb out of bed and get the chair, get the candy out of the top shelf, and then you're going to find wrappers a week later, right? The same thing is going to happen with a business owner, right? If I was to coach someone and put them through this saying, great idea, Charlie. However, look at these pieces. What are your thoughts on it? They're going to justify it no matter what because they're so emotionally attached in the beginning. There's so many stakes. So you have to go and go look at that part and you have to go screw up. And there's a wonderful saying I have of, you will never know what love is until you've lost it. You have to have lost someone first to really understand and know what true love is. So it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in life. You have to have lost something to know what is true.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Poetry plus science equals long-term success. That was Derek's commentary.
It took him a long time to put that up.
Yeah, listen, he's a thoughtful dude. Derek's
Yeah.
thoughtful dude. Let's talk about developing positive habits.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see a consistency in some of the negative habits that you see within our industry from advisors? What do most advisors need to recover from? And maybe we've got some people joining us today that can resonate with these.
Yeah. This is a one, and this one is it's actually why my day was kind of crappy this morning. Because this really sits heavy on my heart. Extremely heavy on my heart. The negative thing that I truly see needs to be dealt with advisors in our industry, with mindset and these pieces, is the public bashing of other advisors or industries. And here's why. Hmm. We wonder why the public sees us as used car salesmen or whatever you want to say. We wonder why there's such lack of trust to talk to an independent advice or a financial advisor, a financial planner, because the Joe public, half of the industry itself doesn't even know what all these names of for these distributions, these IMOs, RIAs, they don't know who they are. Their acronyms, their names. There's so many financial firms, independent or not. The Joe public doesn't know who these are. So when you are making public posts saying XYZ company is a crook and he's an idiot and he's done this and should have his license taken away and this person's a big fat duty head and this person's wrong, that is so incredibly harmful to the people we are trying to serve.
Well, I would argue to whoever's saying that, and I don't see a lot of that.
Yeah.
I might hear a lot of that, but I don't see a
Mhm.
lot of that in public. Super harmful to the person who's saying it's brand as well.
It
Who wants to
is.
do business with a person like that, right?
It is this part. I understand where it's coming from. And that's the part of, so I want to add to this. I understand where it's coming from because myself, I see big fat duty heads out there too. But if I was to go point out this individual, who am I harming more? And then what am I doing to the greater good of all of coaching, of being an external resource to a business owner, right? There's good people and there's bad people. There always is. So it is that whole part of stop the noise, stop the public posts, the forums. Because I spend a lot of time on Facebook forums with advisors because I do a lot of research and I stay in touch. And I see it a lot. And it's the finger pointing. Go do better. You know that this is wrong what they're doing. It's pulled an emotion. When you are pissed off, it's wonderful because it means you're a human being and you care. So what do you do with that in a way to fix it? And that's the emotional intelligence, self-awareness,
Uh,
self-regulation, right?
yeah. I will share some of my coaching background. I won't bring
Mhm.
organization, but I will tell you, and they did coach specifically to say these words, say it this way, say it when they say this. I mean, it was interesting education, and it was, it's some years ago, but they coach specifically to inject doubt in someone's existing advisor.
Yeah.
And I would say it never sat well. It was research based, whatever. Um, but like specifically, um, oh, I have an advisor. Oh, really? Who are you working with? Oh, that person? Like that?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, just a tone,
Right?
right?
Yeah, wow. Never,
Good luck.
never sat well. I did it a little bit because I was working their methodology. But yeah, anyway, just commentary. People, advisors are taught
Yeah.
to diminish the competition in that regard, not with words, but with tone. Right. So, okay. So that's the negative side of things, Kim.
Yeah.
Where can we take that? What are some of the one or two of the most important positive routines that advisors can implement in their daily or weekly?
I just want to, as you said, the tone thing, I just want to grab onto something back there too, because I think there's an important part of even showing my experience and why I have the expertise that I have. I was a GM. My name was public.
Yeah.
My phone number was public. Even though I took care of the independent direct channel, there was a couple other entities that were attached to the company I worked for. And you have no idea how many phone calls I would get a day from consumers, from policyholders, from investment holders. And there is something that is so important, and it's why I coach in business development and mindset. It is that part of the only thing that is worst of having no clients is having a bad client. That's the only thing worse. And so my ability of taking hundreds and thousands of these calls a year, it's that part of business has to be mutually beneficial and there has to be reciprocity and there has to be involvement. So when we are looking at mindset about, oh, these stupid, forms that I have to get fined with disclosure and engagement agreements and things like that, that's your most powerful tool. You know if your client is engaged or not with the right person. And it also covers you because sometimes these really crappy policies that are sold is because the client is in the bad mindset.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So it's
Yeah.
a really interesting piece to kind of look at. When you were on my rant and I kind of forgot your question, so can you say it again? So I don't want to
Uh,
fake it. I was about to fake it. I'm like, nope, don't fake it. Ask the question.
no, just I want to flip it over, right? So we're talking about some of the negative kind
Mhm.
of routines. What's some of the positive things that you see lead to advise? So positive implementing positive routines that lead to advisor success.
Wow. Hmm. Man, Charlie, I've got the most incredible group of advisors and business owners. So they're mixed together. It's not all just financial advisors that I coach. I have incredible business owners who give advice for a living, lawyers, accountants, pharma. Like there is incredible people. And there's this willingness that is just coming up of people want to learn more. They want to understand what things are going through. They want to figure out, how do I have these conversations better with my client? And it's not this, it's this really interesting part of, it's not the end of this almighty dollar. It's this part of, it came from a saying that just popped in my head of what I do. It's not wanting to make millions, it's wanting to help millions. And so it's this really interesting mindset that's coming through, because there's this younger generation that's coming up that leads with impact. They lead 100% with impact. And then there's us that um effed around to find out. And now we're really looking at impact, right? Because you're talking about mindset. And so there's this really cool marry that's happening between us older and wiser and ones that are here helping and have done the things and have learned and all that kind of stuff. And we're old enough to be cool, but we're still young enough to still be relevant, which I love, right? And then these younger people, they're teaching us things, right?
Yeah.
And so it is so neat to see this incredible marry of new and old, younger and experienced. And man, that makes me, I got goosebumps from it. It is so exciting to watch because it's that tech world. It's that whole part of this idea of teaming has been extremely difficult. How long have we been talking about teaming in our industry? Like forever,
Yeah.
forever. Nobody
Yeah.
does it. It's starting to happen.
Yeah. I think 20 years at least. Now I think where it comes from is succession plan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the foundation of teaming, and it probably starts with the big firms. It seems to be that way, right? Things start with the big
Mhm.
firms, they trickle down to the independent channels.
Yeah.
But it was always succession plans for in aging industry.
Yeah.
But I think, you bring up a really important point. It's done something. There's a melding of mindsets, right? There is a young, and I'm here for my young kids' birthday, and they're young, hip kids, cool like I was when I was 15 and 16.
Yeah.
And now I would say that they think I'm the old, they don't think I'm cool anymore, I don't think. But
My hubby's like, why do you think you're still cool? And I said, when I was growing up, Jesse's mom's got it going on. So it has to be
yeah.
relevant.
But there is, when I coach a team in Providence, Rhode Island, and they are with a big firm. They're with a big captive firm in the States. And um, the senior advisor is, I'm guessing a little bit. I didn't see his name pop up here. So even if he'll know who I'm talking about, is, probably 57, 58.
Yeah.
Um, and the junior advisor is 28.
Yeah.
And they're already working on the junior advisor's 10-year transition plan, where this becomes his practice to run and who the next advisor is.
Yeah.
And, I've known these guys for 5 or 6 years, so I can say it. The senior advisor's a nerd. I love him to death, but he's a
Yeah.
nerd. I've hung out with him at his place and when I'm traveling through there, right? He
Right.
like president of Society of CPAs nerd,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I say that very endearing.
With the love. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The young advisor, hip, cool dude, right? I mean, like really, so he brings a different life.
Yeah.
Um, what yeah, I was coaching the senior advisor before the young advisor was part of the team. And that was a succession plan. It was encouraged by the complex manager and the branch manager. Um, Almost like it was like a sterile play for the business, but it's turned into something really, really beautiful. where these two people complement each other, like, and part of it's their age, part of it's their interests and desires in life. They complement each other so beautifully, so that the clients that are on the younger side and on the older side, they get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. It is so neat. There's a really cool, and I'm actually thinking about taking their certification, which I usually poo-poo at all these courses because I'm so experienced. Anyways, I'm very
Yeah.
experienced, so it's hard for something to keep and maintain my attention. So there is a course and a certification out there called the Working Genius, and I like the Working Genius a lot because it does not put anyone in a square peg or making anyone feel uncomfortable for being a certain way. And so it really just says, like, Charlie, this is your unique ability. You love to coach and have these conversations. You're the talker, you're the opener. You're not the closer, right? You're doing all you like to show up, have the talk and chat, and then you're going to go surfing, man. Like, that's your love. That's your
Yeah.
love. And so there's this really, and there's other people that they want to do the behind scenes work. They want to be, though that's their happy place. And diversity, inclusion, all these conversations, succession, teaming, all these conversations have had a really negative effect also too sometimes in regards of, why can't I just be the greatest me I can be? This is where I belong. And so when you get to have these conversations with people saying, this is what I want, right? I was a female number 4 in a very, very, in a high performing world. I sat at the table, I smiled, I understood why things would needed to be done. Did I do something completely different when the door was closed and made my goals? Yep.
Yeah.
It's I can't do and make the change from a boardroom table anymore. I am really smart and I know how the ins and outs work. And I had a client the other day asked me to help him prepare a life insurance case and write the underwriter letter that was getting declined. I said, well, do this, this, and this. And she writes me back going, holy shit, it got issued. $11 million policy. Right. And I'm going, I still got it. But it's that part of bringing in emotional intelligence and mindset. So, okay, this case isn't getting issued. Look at this, look at this, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about approach. Yeah. Fancy that.
Approach. It's my name, man. It's my name. It's the approach.
All right, Kim, before we wrap here,
Yeah.
getting to the top of the hour, I want you to help me solve my midweek mindset.
Oh,
Right. So I, like, honestly, had the conversation with Carmen this morning, right? I'm always up early. Just that's the way it goes. I'm up at 4:30. First off, in Volusia County, Florida, your dogs can't be on the beach. And so the only time I can run my dog on the beach is before sunrise, or I risk getting a ticket.
yep.
So I get the dog out and I get the coffee on, and maybe I'm at the computer by about 6, and the mornings kind of become the same.
Yeah.
And you kind of, some are awesome and I'm energized. And usually that's Monday morning. I'm energized, hit the week hard. When it comes Wednesday, Thursday, you get that midweek mindset.
Yeah.
Oh, Groundhog Day. Oh, just a couple more days, hold on around, right? Um, what do I do with that? How do I get out of that? I don't think I'm the only person who suffers from that.
Everybody suffers from that. It's the reason why it's called hump day so many times and forever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a formula. It's not one thing. It's a formula of things I do. So I have a tap in group that I have, and there's different phases and different parts to going through. But the biggest part when it comes to mindset is to come in and be part of the group, because on Mondays I send out, okay, what are you focusing on this week? And it's 3 or 4 things, and it is baited within behavioral economics and mindset and really achieving the goals that you're looking for. Wednesday hits, and it's just like when June hits, you're halfway through the year. A lot of us are dragging our feet, feeling weird, going, what the hell's going on? You're halfway through the year. That's what's going on.
It's crazy. How are
Right?
we doing this year? Yeah.
It's this halfway point is the hard point. That's the biggest hurdle to go through when you're halfway there. So the midweek mindset that I send out to the group is something around emotional intelligence, understanding how to get to focus, just something to the point of sit down in the morning, grab your favorite beverage, go be quiet, and write down all the habits, good or bad, that you notice that you are doing. And then when you write them down, just take a look and going, are these habits getting me towards where and the person I want to be? So when you have reflection moments and quiet moments, not at your desk, not at these places, this is why I've invested money into building this whole retreat center for advisors to come out in the middle of wonderful nowhere and eat good food and hike trails and be healthy and be in a different spot, not a stupid cold conference room, right? So midweek mindset is about looking and focusing at your environment. Something as simple as one of the activities I sent out is go grab your cell phone and look at a picture of the landscape and then zoom in and focus on one thing. Take the picture and then zoom out. When you
Yeah.
zoom out the second time, you're going to see that one thing that you're focused on. And so it's a mindset part of there's always all this noise around you in this landscape.
Yeah.
But when you actually zoom in and focus on it and you see it and you capture it, it stays with you.
Yeah.
And
That's
then on
cool.
Fridays, I send a recap. So a refocus of, what did you achieve this week? What didn't you? What can you change? What can you do better? And so there are these really honest questions about what did I set out to do? How did I recharge myself in the middle of the week? And having those really honest questions of, okay, where did I screw up? What did I do really good? And who do I get to thank in my circle?
Yeah. I,
That's it.
we all express that we want change, even if we're, functioning at a high degree. Everybody's working on change,
Yeah.
but then we all do the same stuff.
Yeah.
You can't change if you continue to, like me with the 4:30 walk on and that's a healthy time for me, and I like that and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
But if I am doing the same thing day in and day out, and largely we are,
Yeah.
uh, I brought in a new coaching client. I think our first call was 2 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks Friday, I guess. And so we always, second call, which was this past Friday, was tell me about a day in the life. Like, let's talk about, how that day starts and where it goes. And this person could tell me to the minute where they are and how that happens, and what street and what route they're taking to get to the office, and which Starbucks they're stopping by to grab their coffee on the way there, and blah 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 blah. And from this time to this time, we preach time blocking for efficiency.
Yeah.
They are so ingrained in time blocking that their whole day is the exact same iteration, day after day after day after day after day. And so change becomes a very, very difficult thing when every day looks the same.
Hmm. Time blocking is good and sometimes it's not, right? Structure, every human being needs structure. Every human being. And the find the calm I talk about, it stands for you need to create, you need to align, you need to lead in your wisdom, and then you will step into your mastery. And these are all these repeating things that you need to do all the time. So you need to block time for them or whatever, but one's going to lead more than the other at a certain time. You have to have that flexibility in those pieces. You need to understand who you are. And that's that part that just is truly important. So it's find the right coach that speaks for you that time. That coach is not going to be your coach forever because you're going to outgrow them or they're going to outgrow you. And there's someone different that's going to change and help you at that different point in your life, which I think is amazing.
This is a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for this, Kim. I appreciate it. I really am on this mindset journey. We talked about it before I opened up the room.
Yeah.
Like I've got to go up to Wisconsin for this, I'll see a lot of old friends, but it's not for a great reason.
Yeah.
June 22nd. And I'm like, I need to take 10 days and throw the camper on the truck and hit a trail or catch a golf. I've got to spice it up somewhere. I don't think I've got the time for it, right? I really don't. I need to make the time for it, but not on short notice like
Yeah.
this.
You,
Um,
you, you need to. There's a wonderful saying of the fisherman didn't realize that all his life, it wasn't the fish he was after.
yes, do you want to recant that a little, or like restate that, because I know the story loosely,
So
like the
the,
table or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, the story in that whole, it's that whole part because mindset and mental health and wellness, especially for men, is extremely challenging. And there's a reason why suicide rates are so high with men,
Yeah.
right? And my whole part of showing up in the way in the industry I am, men lead with efficiency, women lead with community and collaboration, right? This whole part of find the calm And sometimes women are on the spotlight of everything right now. How do we get more women in the industry? How do we do this with the women and all this stuff? And the women are just saying, help me run my business. And then the men are like, okay, but I need some help here. Hi. Right? You know, like and it's, you know, Lord help the person that does a men's event, an all men's event, but we do all women's events all the time. So it's just this really interesting dichotomy that happens, right? In this narrative that happens. And so it's that part of, I want men to understand that part of, watch your favorite athlete, watch any sport. What do they do before they step on the ice, step on the field, step on the court, step up to the tee? They meditate. They find the calm. They meditate. So the moment that you think it's not manly or whatever it may be, think of your favorite athlete. They regroup themselves. They do that. They live this incredible part, and they silence the world, and they spend time for them, right? That is exactly what more men need to understand. Masculinity is not toxic. The lack of it is, right? So when we're looking at all these pieces on what it takes to help women achieve, what takes men to achieve, end goal's the same. Path, end goal's the same. The journey a man's going to take is different than the journey a woman is going to take. But that end goal is exactly the same. That's where the equality lives. Quality is not on the path that they go to it. And I think we need to put more volume behind that.
That's awesome. That's a good place to close, I think.
Me too.
So for those of you who are not already connected to Kim, make sure you reach out to Kim on LinkedIn. She's got great content, like really honestly thoughtful content, Kim.
Thank you.
I was not able to join last week's tap in, but I will see you next week for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible tap in. So I'll put a post up. It's, I do have a private group, and every once in a while I open it up for people just to come experience and look at it. So I will open it up. I'll put the post up on Thursday. And if you want to come listen to one of the most incredible Sierra Masters, and also Charlie will be joining us too. So I'll be opening up Charlie's too when it comes up. So I bring in the experts, and this is why I'm a good coach. This is why I'm a proud coach of who I am. I bring in the experts because I am not the experts of everything, because the knower of all is the doer of nothing. So that's why I have cool people in the room with me.
Kim, you're awesome. I'm super happy to spend this time with you and to have introduced you to my email list and whatever differences we have in network on LinkedIn. I'm sure there's a lot of crossover on it, but thank you for this time. Of course, we'll get the recording together. We'll get an email out tomorrow. And anybody who wants to, Kim, what's the easiest way to reach you outside of LinkedIn?
I'm more active actually on Instagram. So Instagram, amazing. And my website, theapproachcoachingmethod.ca. So I think that's an incredible way. Or put in my name. You'll find me. I'm all over the place now, apparently.
You're doing great. You're really doing a great job.
Yep. I love it.
So I'm kind of a voyeur on Instagram.
Thank you.
But you're in my feed all the time.
I love my creepy lurkers. Totally love my creepy lurkers.
I'm active on LinkedIn, but I'm a lurker. I show up on Facebook when Carmen, my photographer wife, takes pictures of me and tags me.
Yeah, she's an incredible photographer. Yeah,
she's doing a good job. Yeah, she's kind of killing it. Yeah, her career's taken all kinds of new journeys, and that's pretty cool to just kind of be in awe of her all the time. So
that's awesome. I'm a huge fan of your wife. Huge fan. She's awesome. Yeah. Okay, honey.
Thank you so much. And everybody who joined us, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Appreciate it immensely. Our next one's July 9th, our next one. But it's gonna be more nuts and bolts than this, Kim. This was that's gonna be about reviews and client testimonials. So that's a good one. Derek, I know, is into that topic as well. So
yeah,
we're gonna get you on
I'll send you a little write-up and research I did with Business Development Canada on testimonials. You're gonna love it. It's really cool. So I'll send it to you. You can use it.
Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. Great to see you.
Bye, guys.